if you're new to my channel, I am your girl, Madi, and welcome. So please make sure to subscribe if you're not already. Hit that notification bell so you always know when I'm uploading. Please make sure to like the video. Subscribe to all my social medias, which will be down in the description box below. And hopefully you will comment and share this video once you find out the topic. And you should have seen the topic when you clicked on the video. Duh. But we're going to talk about colorism. So if you guys haven't seen it, it's all over Twitter. A couple of days ago, the rapper Monaleo, which I just found out how to say her name, so saying it so wrong, but Monaleo had a conversation with Meghan James, and it went viral because Meghan asked her about colorism, and y'all already know how this goes. If you don't, stay tuned. So the video with Monaleo and Meghan James is about 6 minutes long. I'm not gonna play the whole video, but I am gonna summarize what happens in that video, and we're gonna discuss it together. So I'll add a link to the video down below so you guys can go watch it for yourselves if you need to have that perspective as well. So the video starts out with Meghan, and this is Meghan James, who was on Bad Girls Club and like one season of Basketball Wives. Is that Meghan James? So let me set the scene. If you don't know who Meghan James is, she is a light-skinned black woman. Monaleo is a dark-skinned rapper. Okay. So Meghan asks Monaleo if she believes in colorism and if she believes that it is easier for lighter-skinned women in the industry. Monaleo responds, yes, she believes in colorism, but colorism is true and in our faces every single freaking day. And that it is easier for lighter skinned women to excel, and it's harder for darker skinned women in the industry to get into those same places and those same levels like lighter skinned women. Meghan then asks Monaleo why she believes that colorism is a thing, and then she begins to center herself in this conversation, right? Because she then says, when she was a little kid in school, she used to get made fun of and picked on by the other black kids because, you know, and she got told she wasn't black enough. And Monaleo tells her, like, that's not colorism though. Like, I'm so sorry you experienced that, but that's not colorism. Because it's not. I'm just gonna tell you, it's not colorism. And then the guy who was sitting behind Meghan says, oh, like, it's like reverse colorism. And Meghan's like, yeah, like reverse colorism. And Monaleo's like, no, because reverse colorism is not a thing. Like, what you experienced was terrible, but it's not reverse colorism because it does not exist. I will say in this conversation, Monaleo is, you can tell she is being so mindful and intentional with the words she is saying, ensuring, because we know how these conversations always end, right? If it's a conversation between a dark-skinned black woman and a lighter-skinned black woman, it always ends up in the black woman getting a lot of hate and vitriol of, oh, you're just jealous, and so like she has to be so mindful and so cautious. You can tell with every single like word she says and how she's trying to articulate her statements. But I do love that she never tried to discredit Meghan's experiences, because her experiences did occur to her and they were probably traumatizing to her as a child. They just were not colorism, right? Cool. Meghan then brings up points about how, you know, it's like, you know, I've heard like, oh, you're pretty for a black girl, and Monaleo's like, yeah, that's racist, like that's racism. Well, she said, because a white person said it, like, you're pretty for a black girl. She said, yeah, that's racism, that's not colorism. And then she says, well, I've had black girls ask me like, oh, you're so pretty, are you mixed? Like, you can't be black, like, are you mixed? And it's like, yeah, girl, that's still not colorism, that's anti-blackness. Like, that is anti-blackness, deep-rooted anti-blackness that comes back down to white supremacy and slavery. What you talking about? That's still not colorism. Then she talks about how Meghan says, hey, like, it doesn't impact men in the same, like, it's not impacting men in the same way. And Monaleo agrees, like, it typically mainly impacts women in how we see women, like dark-skinned women versus light-skinned women. But, you know, it does, like, lighter-skinned men are seen as to be soft, and it's because a lighter-skinned woman, right, a light-skinned black woman is soft. Somehow she's soft, she's delicate. So that equals itself to a man as well. Same way that black people, people see black men as being rough and tough with your afro puffs. I don't know, I had to say that last part. Being like, real tough and hyper masculine, it links itself to black women, right? Like, you see how that interchange goes together? But really quickly, let me explain to y'all what colorism is. Like, I'm gonna give y'all the definition of colorism. So colorism is defined as prejudice or discrimination against individuals with darker skin tone, typically among people with the same ethnic or racial group. Meaning, black people perpetuate colorism. And granted, I'm gonna give you listen, colorism stems from racism, which is a byproduct of slavery and white supremacy. All of those are linked together. But here's the thing, a lot of people, right? A lot of black people are able to have the conversation of racism. They're able to understand racism. But as soon as we get to colorism, all of a sudden, we forget logic, we forget our brains, and then we say things like reverse colorism, when we know if a white person was to tell us reverse racism, we'd be in their ass. Same reason I'm gonna be in y'all ass, because reverse colorism just is not a thing. It does not, the system unfortunately does not work in that way, right? Like, the benefit goes one way, it does not go both ways when we talk about this. Colorism is when you see, like, and it's perpetuated in fashion, in media, when we are talking about how the roles that portray black women, right, are always lighter skin, ambiguous, curly 3A hair, right, very loose curl patterns. Those are people who are showing are the images for black women, right? Like, they're lighter skin, they're fair. When we hear, and that's a byproduct of, like, the closer the whiteness you are, the better. You don't see dark skinned women in those same veins, those same lights being pushed up in the media that way. Same way that black men's preferences are always lighter skinned women. It's always that, you're jealous of a lighter skinned woman if you make a comment about her. You're just jealous because you ain't got the good hair and you dark like that. Damn, like, my dark skin never bothered me before. Like, why is that the reason I can't just give genuine critique? And I don't want to discredit anybody's experience when they say, like, hey, I was teased and I was picked on as a kid. My question to you, right, if you're saying it's because I was light skinned, it's because I had good hair, my question is that what those little kids told you, or is that what your parents told you or your guardians told you when you went home? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, did the little girl come up to you and push you down and say, I don't like you because you light skinned? Is that the words that happened? Because I'm gonna tell you this, sometimes little kids are cruel, and they're cruel. If somebody pushes me down when I was a little kid, they pushed me down when I was a little kid, I didn't think it's because I was dark skinned. I was just like, damn, y'all mean. And I was a really nice kid, so sometimes I looked like an easy target. I look like an easy target, so, like, I'm gonna pick on you. Sometimes there is no rhyme or reason with kids. I think sometimes we assign more logic to what children do than is actually warranted. But that would be my question. It's not to discredit that these things happen to you. My question would be, where did we get the idea it's because of this certain thing? Was it perpetuated by was it said by those children, or perpetuated by the adults in our lives? Right? And unfortunately, adults are just as much contributors as anybody. We would learn from them these same behaviors, and because it's deeply rooted within society. Same reason why, for the longest time, we still do it actually, black women have always permed our hair, right? Because we've been told that our hair in its natural state is unprofessional, unmanageable, unseemly, unseemly. So we should straighten our hair, because we've been told the European beauty standard is a standard of beauty we should accustom ourselves to. And what is the European beauty standard? Straight, bone straight hair. So, greasy bone straight hair, but bone straight hair nonetheless. Light white skin. We can't attain white skin, so for us, it's the closer to that whiteness you get, the better. Same reasons why we see bleaching I'm crazy about bleaching happening in the Caribbean and Africa, right? So prevalent within our communities there. And I say this as a Haitian American woman, okay? It's because colonialism beat all our asses. White supremacy has run rampant in this world, and they have ingrained and indoctrinated us to believe that the closer to whiteness we are, the better. So then we use that in our own communities, right? Because it's been ingrained so deeply within us that we keep perpetuating those same conversations within our own communities, right? We'll tell each other, oh, girl, you know, if you put a little bleaching cream on that, you look real good. Huh? I look, what? If you perm your hair, girl, you'll be fine. Right? Same reason why I permed my hair when I was 12. My mom didn't want to give me a perm, but I begged my mother to let me get a perm because I was tired of getting bullied about, when I be saying bullied, made fun of. It was really made fun of. Made fun of because I had my natural hair still. I said, oh Lord Jesus, no. Lord Jesus, no, let me change this. And my mom allowed me to perm it, and then I stopped perming it a few years later when I realized, like, no, that's dumb. And I realized the reasons why I was perming my hair, same reasons why I was told I was ugly, because I was dark skinned and that only the lighter girls were pretty. And that is something I can point out, right? I can point out I was told this is the reason why. I didn't assume it was because I was darker skinned. Nah, shorty, your dark skin is ugly. Nah, like that she cute because she light skinned. Yeah, you don't see how cute her skin is. Yeah, that is what happens. That is the conversation of colorism. It is deep, it's complex, but it happens when we are young and the adults in our lives perpetuate those conversations, and we as now adults are perpetuating the same conversation. We don't understand how deep and nuanced it is that colorism is also linked into texturism, featureism, because here's what we need to understand. Bottom line, point blank period, is the closer you are to whiteness, meaning features, aesthetic, maybe not aesthetic, let me take that back, features, hair, right? Like the closer you are to whiteness in these places, the better you are. We had to unlearn the language our damn selves about good hair, because we already know the connotation of what good hair means. Good hair means typically means that 3A, 3C kind of hair, nice and soft and silky and luscious that way. Our natural hair coming out of its scalp is not seen as good hair. Unfortunately, Malo's been, why do I keep calling her Malo? Monaleo. Monaleo has been getting some hate from this interview going live, and I'm gonna tell you with what her tweet says. Her tweet said, I got some nasty ass messages since that interview dropped, and all I did was point out what I thought was the obvious. I stand by what I said about colorism still being a very real and prevalent issue. There's no such thing as reverse colorism. She said nothing wrong, but remember I told you guys in the beginning of the video when you saw how mindful, how cautious she was being with her words, almost like she was walking across a desert with landmines, and she was trying to tiptoe around them so one doesn't explode. This is what happens when we have the conversation of colorism, as we have to prepare ourselves for the vitriol that we will ultimately face when people come across it. Even I understand when I post this video, I am already prepared for the comments that I'm going to receive in the background, because as a dark-skinned black woman, how dare I have this conversation? And it's going to be because I'm jealous. Right? It's going to be, I'm jealous, I wish I was lighter skinned, all of these things, but this is a very nuanced conversation. And here's what people also need to understand as I get through the rest of the tweets that I want to show you guys is people do not care about issues that do not directly impact them. That is a lot of what happens. So as a dark-skinned black woman, this has always directly impacted me. This would always directly impact me. The children that I have, my nieces, my nephews, this will always be a conversation, unfortunately, that we have in our community. And I will not sit aside and let somebody try to play in my face, because these are things that really happen. These are my experiences. These are my lived experiences. These are lived experiences of other black women, dark-skinned black women who look just like me. You cannot say we are all wrong, right? It's like white people trying to tell us racism doesn't exist. Bitch, how when we experience it, right? Like, we know that part of the statement is wrong. Racism does exist. So you can't tell me classism doesn't exist. Colorism doesn't exist. Classism does exist too, but that's a different conversation. You can't tell me that colorism doesn't exist if racism exists, because it is all linked together. It was taught together. All right, cool. Meghan replies to that tweet from Monaleo, talking about reverse colorism 100% exists, saying that it doesn't exist is actual proof that it does. How, Masika? Tell me how, Masika. Tell me. I'm curious. I wait. Because that's the dumbest thing I never heard. And again, I'm not trying to invalidate anybody's experience, but you're just telling me you don't understand the definition of colorism. Tell me how reverse colorism works. You were teased, you were taunted, but colorism has not affected you in your life. Has it stopped you from being picked, Masika? Has it stopped you from being put on a pedestal, Masika? Because you've been looked at as a prize. You've been put up on a pedestal, girl. Shut your ass up, please, respectfully. Shut up. If you do not have the range and the depth for the conversation, sit out of it. It's okay to sit out of conversation sometimes if you do not have the range, if you don't understand all the context. It is okay to sit out the conversation and not add your opinion. Okay. Somebody else said, and I really, well, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna another one of Monaleo's tweets. Monaleo. Why can't you call her Mana? Monaleo's tweets. When a brown, dark-skinned woman addresses her personal experiences with colorism, it's always discredited and disregarded, or y'all chalk it up to being jealous of a light-skinned woman. I celebrate every woman's accomplishments because I know what's for me is for me. And she's 100% correct. I already told y'all, as a dark-skinned black woman, I already know what comes from this. You cannot speak up with not expecting some type of hate or vitriol to come from you following this conversation. But again, you can't discredit people's experiences. And like I said, I'm not trying to discredit any lighter skinned woman's experience. I would like to have a detailed conversation, right? Like, let's get to the nuances. Because is it that the little girls told you, I don't like you because your hair long? Or did one of your adults in your house go and tell you that, put those cycles of thoughts in your head, and you go out thinking, damn, she's just jealous because I'm light skinned and I have good hair. You're just mad because I have good hair. I'm gonna tell you, as a little kid, if somebody would tell me, bitch, you mad at me because of my hair, I would have cut your hair, because bitch, now what? Now you ain't got no hair. I would have been petty like that. And I know I would have been petty like that as a kid. I can imagine other little kids being just as petty. Like, kids don't think things through that way, right? Like, we don't have the full range of emotions. They get upset, and now it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this behavior that you told me I was doing before. Now I'm gonna actually do it, right? So like, let's have the conversation. I'm very curious to know. Again, I'm very curious to know what these experiences are, how the conversation was had. Was it the kids? Was it the adults? Like, what is it? Truly, just want to know. But somebody else says the interview is in hell. Truly, so much responsibility fell on Monaleo, to the point where she has to cautiously articulate her feelings, and the host centered herself in her light skin privilege, hoping to derail the conversation. This is usually how colorism conversations go. And she is 100% correct. Like, and the reason I'm putting up these tweets, right? Because there's a bunch of tweets, and I only picked some of them because they highlighted kind of where I wanted this conversation to go, and some of the things that I was seeing and how I wanted to address with you guys, because it didn't make no sense to me, and I just wanted to, put it out on the screen so we could have the conversation. Somebody else tweeted, and I really love this tweet because I hadn't thought about it, or I hadn't pulled it to the forefront of my brain when I started doing this video, until I saw this comment. And the person said, when she was 16, 17, when she first got on Twitter, as a skinny, dark-skinned girl, she saw nothing but people comparing us and our bodies to roaches, burnt food, roast beef, bodily excrements, and whatnot. So yeah, I truly wish the very worst in all Twitter OGs who participated. And she's 100% correct. When I tell you the hate that dark-skinned black women get on the internet, it is ridiculous. And if you look at the kind of hate that dark-skinned black women get on the internet, it is directly tied to the fact that we are dark-skinned. There are tweets where it's like, oh, that dark-skinned woman ruined the picture. If she was light-skinned, she'd be better. Bitch, what? Like, what the hell is going on there? Like, I did nothing but exist, and this comes from people who have dark-skinned black mamas. Like, damn, like, the hate is just be real because you existed, because you thought like, oh, I look good, and it's like, how dare you think that you look good, that you deserve peace and sanity in this world? And be like, they ready to fight for, like, we be having to fight for our lives on the internet. And colorism, if you look very closely on Twitter, not even look closely, baby, if you just look on Twitter, then you see the colorism perpetuated in each and every day. Colorism is perpetuated when we see that the faces of companies that are supposed to be for us, and I say us as black people, are only people who are ambiguous, racially ambiguous, lighter skin with fine, good texture hair, 3A to 3C hair, maybe a 4A, because that's palatable. When we talk about the people who represent us in media as black women, are only lighter skinned women. Only lighter and racially ambiguous women somehow end up playing black women. It's the only way you can find a black woman on TV, unless they're old mama. That's what you get, right? Like, it's in our faces every day, and if we don't, just say you don't want to acknowledge it is what I'm going to say, right? Just say you don't want to acknowledge it. But the hate is given, the colorism is there, the conversation needs to be had, and needs to be had in a real, thoughtful, insightful manner, which is why I'm here, because that sparked something in me. So let's have the conversation. Let me know your thoughts down below on colorism. Do you believe that reverse colorism exists? If so, why? Please tell me your experiences of that, and like how you see it's occurring. Again, I want to have a respectful conversation. If we can have that in the comments, let's go. If you get out of pocket, out of hand, I will be blocking, I will be deleting, because at the end of the day, this is my page, and what you're not going to do is disrespect me on my page. I don't care. Go find somebody else's page to do that with. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you stopping by my video, watching it through. If you haven't already, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to share this video, tell your auntie, because it's the best friend, that Madi is making some insightful ass content, okay? That you want to see this, because it's nuanced, it is deep, she is delivering. All right, let me relax. Thank you guys so much. I will see you in the next video.